Hi everyone! So today I'm going to tell you guys all about my life. So let's begin from the very beginning. So I was born on September 10th, 1994 at 1313. So those are very bad luck numbers, but I'm just grateful I wasn't born on September 13th as well. So anyway, so my first word was actually ma. And so from the very beginning, it was obvious I was a mama's girl. So moving forward 2 years later, my mom and dad got divorced, and I am so happy it happened when I was young, because at least I don't remember it now, and I never really got close to my dad. I would always see him every other weekend, but I would always be so sad to leave my mom. And yeah, but that was life back in those days. So later on, I began kindergarten, and in kindergarten was where I got most of my childhood friends. I had these 3 girls that were my best friends for a very long time, and we had so much fun together. We lived in a very small town together, all of us, and everyone pretty much knew everybody. And once actually, my mom tried getting me into ballet class, but I was really a shy kid and I did not want to dance with the other children. So I just decided to stick to drawing and making art and singing and doing sports, because I was much better at that than dancing. And I also was obsessed with technology. I even got one of those kid laptops that children could play with. I had one of those and I was obsessed with them. So yeah, and moving on, a few years later, when I was 6 years old, I had my very first big accident. And this was when I was in the shower and I had still all of my clothes on with socks and everything. And I was so silly back then. I thought it would be a good idea to balance on the side of the bathtub, and it was not a good idea because it was so slippery on it. And I was trying to reach this Barbie doll I had hanging on the hanger above the tub. And sure thing, I slipped off the bathtub and hit the side of my eyebrow on the faucet, and then I hit it on the side of the tub, and then lastly on the tub floor. So I hit my head 3 times in a row, and I remember just seeing blood everywhere. And it was such a huge contrast to the white porcelain bathtub. And I felt so confused and scared, and I did not know what was going on. I stood up from the bathtub and I was too scared to look in the mirror, so I did not look in the mirror. And my mom came into the bathroom, and she was so freaked out about it, and she gave me a towel and then ran to the phone and called the ambulance. And I was just staring at myself at the mirror, but because I had a towel against my wound, I did not see the wound, just the blood. And I was really in shock. I wasn't saying anything, I was just staring at myself. And we just decided to take the car instead to the ER. And I was actually supposed to get stitches at the hospital, but I was so loud, I screamed and cried because it was so painful. But I was also terrified of the doctors, and they were scared that the police would come, so they just used medical tape instead to tape me up, and it hurt like crazy still. But yeah, I could not handle getting stitches, so they just taped me up instead. And now I have a huge scar on the side of my eyebrows. So a few years later, at age 9, I had a really hard time in school, especially with reading. and spelling. And this was around the time where I got diagnosed with mild dyslexia, and I felt very stupid and ashamed, and I did not want anyone to find out about this. So I did not tell anyone, any of my friends, nobody. So I really did not like this, that I was mild dyslexic and I was so different from everybody else, and I felt so scared every time I had to read in front of the class, because the words would keep on moving around and getting blurry. So I really decided to focus most of my time on drawing, doing sports. I played a lot of football and did a lot of swimming. So I really could forget about the words and spelling, because in sports and arts there's no words, so I didn't have to think about that. So I also really fell in love with choir around this time, and I had been doing it for 2 years at this time, and I absolutely loved singing, even though I wasn't the best singer. But in Sweden, singing is a very big part in school, so I did it and I absolutely loved it, and I did choir for 5 years. So after a few years in Sweden, around age 12, it was just an ordinary day in school. I was having a fun day with my friends, learning stuff in school, and everything was normal. But then I got a text from my mom, and she told me that we needed to meet up at the library and talk. And I did not know what was going on. I just thought, oh, it's just nothing, we're just going to be talking about something. But when I got to the library, my mom actually told me something that happened to her at her social work job, and it was a very scary experience for her. And she asked me if I wanted to move to the Philippines to escape this thing that happened to her. And she gave me 2 options: to live in Sweden with my dad or move with her to the Philippines. And this was a no-brainer for me. I did not even think about it. I just said I would move with her, because a life without her would be impossible. So I really needed to be with her, and we moved all the way across the world to the Philippines. In the Philippines, I learned the language after 4 months, and I really loved the country. I loved the food, the weather was amazing, the fashion, the movies, everything, and the people are so nice there. And so I had to repeat a few months. So I had to go to 6th grade, to the beginning of the 6th grade again. And I did not like that part, but I had to do it, and it was a huge culture shock in the Philippines. And the school was so different, the grading, and we were wearing uniforms and all that stuff. But I really loved it still. But I did not speak in 6th grade at all, almost only in English class, because I felt really embarrassed to speak Tagalog, because I had an accent, of course, because I had just learned it. So when I was home, I focused a lot on watching movies and TV shows. I would watch a lot of Disney shows, and I got so much better at English in the Philippines. And this was also the time where I discovered YouTube. I used to watch so much YouTube. I used to watch Juicy Star 07, aka Blair Fowler, and I really fell in love with YouTube. But I never thought I would ever become a YouTuber back then. But so, as I said, school was very tough, and the grading was crazy difficult. The math there was so hard, and of course Tagalog class as well. But yeah, after a few months in 6th grade, 2 days before my 13th birthday, my mom and I and my aunt went to the Mall of Asia, and we went ice skating. And I grew up in Sweden, so I did a lot of ice skating, and I knew some tricks but not a lot of them. And when we were there ice skating, I was looking at this girl who was a professional ice skater, by the way, and she was doing figure skating, like crazy tricks. And I saw this one trick that she did where she put her foot like aligned with her body and then just doing a half split while she was sliding. And I really wanted to try it out, so I did, and I practiced a bit, and I was able to do it. And when I was going to show my mom how I did it, I was doing the trick and I lost balance and fell on the same eyebrow that I fell back when I was 6 years old, and it was just beside that one. So now it looks like I have like one huge scar, but really it's two scars beside each other. So anyways, I was wearing a helmet, but I still got hurt, and I remember feeling confused again, and I did not understand what was happening. I touched my head and I saw tons of blood on my hands, and the mall thankfully had doctors there, and they actually stitched me up. This time I agreed to getting stitches because the wound was too big to not get stitches. So I got 8 stitches and I stayed calm, but I really cried a lot, quietly of course, but I cried, and it was one of the most painful feelings I had ever had. But getting stitches definitely got me stronger, and I felt like I could do anything after that experience. So after that, a few months later, I began my first year as a freshman in high school, and I actually switched to another school where I did began speaking Tagalog, and I got 3 really close friends finally after a year of having no friends. And these 3 friends of mine, I would eat lunch with them every single day, and I just fell in love with the Philippines and the school, even though it was really tough. But I felt so at home. I had never felt this feeling before, where I really felt like I belong. I absolutely loved it. But sometimes good things come to an end, I guess, and my mom decided that it was time for us to move back to Scandinavia because there was a crisis in the Philippines. And at this time, I really wanted to become a fashion designer, and there's not a very big chance of you getting into a really good school there that is cheap. All of the schools there are very expensive that are, really good schools. So we decided to move to Denmark to my grandmother, and let's just say that the environment at home wasn't the healthiest. My mom and I was not getting along with my grandmother a lot, so that resulted in a lot of crazy drama. But living in Denmark was really hard for us because Denmark, as we quickly realized, was so different from Sweden. So when I began school, I actually had to repeat like 2 years because for some reason they did not count the years that I studied in the Philippines. I don't know why, because I learned so much more in the Philippines than I have ever learned in any other schools in Scandinavia. So that's just crazy. But I had to repeat those 2 years. So I began 7th grade in Denmark, and I absolutely hated it. School was horrible. I had no friends. The teachers were so bad, and they were like bored all of the time or crazy stressed out, and I did not feel like I learned anything in school. I spent every day of those three years in the bus on the way to school, feeling very sad, and I daydreamed a lot about getting hurt in the bus. I daydreamed about the bus crashing, and because I really did not want to go to school, so I just daydreamed a lot, listening a lot to music. I felt so alone because I had no friends, and it was really hard getting friends in Denmark in Danish schools. I don't know why, but the people here are a lot different from Swedish, I feel like, and they did not really accept me that much. So that was really hard, and the school also did not help me with my dyslexia because for some reason they did not believe I had dyslexia, so that made my school experience even harder. So in the summer of 2011, I really wanted to do something to change my life a bit, also to help with the bills at home, but also to do something so I could have an outlet for my creativity. So this was the time where Artandbeautyfreak and Naturally Vegan 011 was born, and this was definitely one of the best things I have ever done, guys. This was the best distraction from my school. When I was home, I could just focus on making new YouTube videos for you guys, and you guys really kept me sane during those years in that horrible school. So I did a lot of YouTube videos and I loved it so much. And after those 3 years, when I was 18 years old, those horrible years finally came to an end, and I never thought they would, but finally they did. And I decided to begin web design school, and I got my first friend, Danish friend, even though she wasn't Danish, she was American, and we were in the same class in web design for 4 years, and then both of us decided to enroll in graphic design school, where we both got in, and we loved it in the beginning. But I quickly realized that the school was more based on writing than making art. So I really wanted to quit at the very beginning of my graphic design years, but I decided not to quit and just try to finish it. And the course or the classes were for 3 years, which I felt like was impossible to finish, but I really were trying. And after a few months in that class was actually around the time where I adopted Pinky, and I had always asked for my mom to get a pet, and she would always say no, but finally she said yes, and we got Pinky the Bun Bun, and it was the best day of my life, guys. My life felt so much richer that day, and I felt like I gained a son or something, because Pinky really doesn't feel like a pet but more of a member of the family, and he made my life so much better. I absolutely loved him, and I still love him. So as I said, I had a really hard time in school because I did not like it in graphic design. So I decided to drop out because I did not want to waste more of my time in a school that I did not like. And I did not really know what to do with my life at this time, because I knew I didn't want to go back to school, because Danish schools are not for me. They focus more on the text and doing group works, which I did not like. So I thought maybe it was time for me to work instead. So I decided to volunteer at the animal shelter instead, and just to see if I could maybe get a job there, because I absolutely love animals. So I thought, why not, right? So after a month volunteering there, I did not get a job with them, and I absolutely loved volunteering there, but I had to quit. So I decided to focus on YouTube instead, and this was around the time where I really put a lot of effort in making YouTube videos. I would work on them every single day, spending hours and hours editing and filming and brainstorming. So around this time, I decided to help my mom at her cleaning job at this huge TV and production company here in Denmark, while doing YouTube in the daytime and then working with her at the nighttime. So as I said, our life with our grandmother wasn't that good. The environment at home wasn't very good at all. There was a lot of drama. So finally, after some very long years in her apartment, we finally were able to save up money and move away to our home, to our tiny apartment, and we were free from the drama finally. And I was able to focus so much more on YouTube now. And so earlier this year, my mom opened her YouTube channel, Scorpion YT, and it felt so good to finally have a YouTube buddy, even though she was working on Naturally Vegan 011 with me. But her having her own channel was so much different, and it was amazing seeing her blossom and becoming a YouTuber. And it was so cool because she has never really been into technology or anything, but I'm so happy that I'm able to help her with that. So yeah, and after her making her channel, I really wanted to make my own new channel. So I decided to open AriaVille, and on there I make vlogs, and I really just wanted to share my personal stories with you guys, so more about my life, and I also draw a bit on there. So yeah, I absolutely love AriaVille. And so moving on to the present time, guys, I still help my mom at her job cleaning at the afternoons and nights, and then focusing on making YouTube videos during the day. And I'm really hoping that someday I can make a living making these videos for you guys and take care of our bills and do charity work, and I really hope that will be our future. But for now, I'm going to keep on working hard on making videos, and I hope I'm able to make you guys happy with my videos. So I really want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, because without you guys, I would not have the life I'm having right now. My life would probably be incredibly boring because I would not have a outlet for my creativity. And especially back when I was in school here in Denmark, you really saved my life basically, guys, because I felt so depressed back then, and I really did not see anything good happening in my life. Everything was so chaotic, and having a YouTube channel just made my life so much better back then. So I really want to thank you guys so much for watching my videos and subscribing. It means a lot to me, guys. So thank you so much, and I really hope you guys enjoyed hearing about my story and about my life. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I love you to the moon and back. Thanks, guys. Bye.